Thank you, members, and thank you for your attendance this evening. Can we just remain standing, and the Reverend Sir Peter Lillicrap will just say prayers.
So, Father God, we pray for a blessing on all those here as public servants. Pray for your blessing on their meeting. Pray for healthy debate and for outcomes that work for the good of Blackpool and the community. We pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you. Remember, sit. Thank you very much. And I just welcome everybody to tonight's evening. Just the usual preliminaries and housekeeping. If you're speaking, can you remember to turn off your microphone and speak clearly, as you won't be heard on the broadcast. I don't think you need any reminding that this is the last ordinary council meeting before the election and what have you. So can we continue in that respectful way that we continued last month? Thank you very much. Do we have any apologies for absence? No?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. They're not official apologies, but Councillor Tony Williams can't be with us tonight because he's undergone surgery today for carpal tunnel.
Oh, thank you for letting us know. Can you send him our regards?
I will do that.
Councillor Scott?
Apologies for Councillor Michelle Scott. She's unwell tonight.
Oh, can we hope she feels better soon. Okay, so item 1, declarations of interest. I'll kick off. I've got a personal interest in item 4 as my husband works for BTS. Can I ask councillors, when you do declare an interest, can you say what type of interest, the agenda item and the reason why you have an interest? So start off with Councillor Hobson.
Yeah, I have an interest in agenda item 3. It's a personal interest as I am a non-executive director of Blackpool Coastal Housing.
Okay. Councillor Jackson.
Personal interest, I'm a member of the Combined Fire Authority, so it's regarding the council tax.
Okay, Councillor Burdess.
Personal interest before as the non-executive director of Blackpool Transport.
Okay, Councillor Critchley, did you indicate that?
Yes, also a personal interest in Appendix 4B of item agenda 4 BTS.
Okay, Councillor Brooks.
Board.
Personal interest, Lady Mayor, on proposed rent review as Chair and Non-Executive Director of Blackpool Coastal Housing.
Councillor Hugo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Personal interest as a member of the Combined Fire Authority in relation to the council tax.
Okay. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Lady Mayor, as the appointed non-executive director of Blackpool Coastal Housing Company Limited, I would like to declare a personal interest in agenda item 3.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Galley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a personal interest item 4 as a non-executive director of Blackpool Transport.
Councillor Scott.
Yes, personal interest again. Agenda item 4, a member of the Combined Fire Authority.
Okay, have I missed anybody? Is that everybody? Okay, thank you very much. So item 2, minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of February. Are we all in agreement? Okay. Anybody disagree? Okay. Is that all carried? Thank you. Okay, so item 3, proposed rent review and housing review revenue account budget 23-24. I believe it's Councillor Taylor to move the recommendation.
Yes. Good evening. Madam Mayor, I wish to invite the Council to accept the report and budget for the housing account as presented in the agenda item. Centrepiece of that is, of course, the proposed 5% increase in rents, a difficult decision which has caused some considerable debate. It's true that in more recent times the rent was actually based on the inflation rate, on the CPI. But given that that is now running at 9%, I don't think we wanted to impose that pain on our tenants, in addition to all the other problems that they've got at the present time. On the other hand, we knew that unless we kept it at a reasonable level, and the accounts at a reasonable level, it didn't take long for us to get ourselves into trouble because the housing revenue account is central to all that we do, and that's got to balance, that's got to be in profit. And in particular, our ambitious housing programme, which is going on at the present time and which will accelerate in the near future, is dependent on having a healthy HRA. One that will never, we hope, drop below £1 million because we need that. And it's not just what we're doing now in the housing field, it's what we're going to be doing hopefully shortly, because there are major ambition, not only from us in this council but from government as well, of a housing programme coming to Blackpool. So the HRA we have to look after. So after a lot of debate, we arrived at the figure of 5%. Most of our tenants, of course, are protected in one form or another because of the benefit system, etc. But not all. So, you know, we have to recognise that it is a real increase in their outgoings. But nevertheless, that's what we arrived at. We're in a healthy state, I'm very pleased to say, and we intend to keep it that way. So could I propose the report, Madam Mayor, including the 5% increase in the rents?
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Williams, are you seconding?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to second and reserve the right to speak.
Okay, any further speakers? Councillor Clapham?
Yes, when I read this particular report, I was disappointed that there wasn't an attempt even to, excuse me, freeze the rents, which would have been ideal in the situation that we're in, where there are so many pressures on our residents in terms of energy and everything else. Everything seems to be zooming up in price. And on reading the report, it appeared that the 3% wasn't considered and your choice was between the 5% and 7%. Of course, you did choose the 5%, and I can see the reasons why. I can see the sensible point of keeping £1 million in reserve. That is a good practice. But I knew you would mention that a number of residents wouldn't really find this a burden because it's paid for by other means through benefits. But I always think of the people who are outside of the benefit system, who are probably fairly low workers, and the only way that they can have a decent home is to be a tenant of the borough. And they're the ones who will see this as a real rise of 5%. I can go back to a personal example if you like, or you may not like, but I had an auntie who lived to 102, and she was an independent living person till 100. And she was amazing. She got fantastic genes. I hope I've got some of them. But when I used to visit her either in Harrogate or Knaresborough, she used to tell me I'm the only one round here who's actually paying a real rent with real money. And she felt every rise. And so that's a personal example to me. And so 5% could make a big difference to someone on a low income. And that's the only point I want to make about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I do empathise with Councillor Clapham, because if you've got kids and you're trying to work out whether you're going to buy kids for the, shoes for the kids or eat or heat because of the current crisis, the average rent increase of £4.30 a week will bite. And I fully accept that. But against that, you've got to weigh that up against the ambition of the council as to where we want to be. Currently, we've probably got between 8 and 9% of the housing stock in Blackpool is social housing to protect the most vulnerable in our community. The National averages somewhere between 15 and 20%. In an ideal world, we could get to between 15 and 20% of all the housing stock in Blackpool being available for the less well off in our community. Just to give one or two facts, because I've argued hard and long about this myself in the board, if I'm honest, and 5% gives us a chance to follow that ambition, but we are the 5th lowest rent in the entire country, with a 19% below the national average, and with 34% below the highest council rent in the North West. So I think we've done a reasonable job in protecting our community and balancing that against the aspiration of increasing the amount of social housing in Blackpool. It's right that 81% of the tenants are payable on benefit. It's also right that we're an outlier in terms of national comparison for the HRA. In terms of the amount of borrowing we've been prudent in the borrowing for the HRA for all the reasons that Councillor Taylor outlined. We do want to make an impact, and we're one of the few in the entire country that won't be raising social housing rents by the 7% allowed by the government. We've still got to look after our stock, we've still got to repair them, we've still got construction costs for the new build at Grange Park, and if anybody's tried to get anything done at home, they know how the price of construction materials are rising. So all in all, we think it's fair. It's a balance of looking after our vulnerable in the community, looking to build and maintain the existing stock, but also looking an eye to the future. We're going to have to retrofit to look at the climate requirements of all our stock. That's why we need to protect the HRA. The independent consultant that looked at this said that those were the options. They said that we could live with 5% without damaging the HRA and its long-term viability, which is why we went for it. But I fully empathise with what you're saying, Councillor Clapham.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Are there any further speakers? Sorry, Councillor Owen, didn't see you there.
I rise in support of the increase, not because of the pressure on families in rented houses, but the way it gives us a little bit more capital to add to our really quite remarkable development in house building. And I know in a way, we're talking in terms of what the plans are, which the Executive will be discussing next Monday, but it's all part of the programme. And I know we're going to build another 100 houses or more during the next period. But I think more importantly still is the success this council has had in persuading Whitehall and then the government of the poor condition of so much of our private sector housing. And looking at Mr. Secretary of State's comments, which are reported on in Executive for Monday, when he tells us that 1 in 3 of our privately owned houses do not meet the decent housing standard. And I think the success in developing the programme now for a massive research programme into the condition of so many of our houses and finding the mechanism to putting things right is quite a remarkable step forward, and one that I think all of us are keen to see. I suppose having a decent home is the prerequisite for any family's progress. Our young people need good housing if they're going to develop and have a decent start in life. And I think it's one of the sad things that over the years there has been so little investment in the private sector of our homes. I'm sure this initiative, warmly supported by the government, and it doesn't matter what colour the cat is, provided it catches mice. And I think that's the way we are. We fully support the partnership with the government, and I'm grateful to our Labour group for making this happen. I'm with them in spirit, if not in physical standing. Thank you very much indeed, Lady Mayor.
Any further speakers? Okay, Councillor Taylor, reply.
Well, Councillor Clapham is far too intelligent not to know there's nothing we would like better on this side, on the Labour side, than to be able to bring in a zero increase because of our history, because of what we've done over the years in terms of promoting social housing. And you remember as well the unhappy days we went through during Mrs. Thatcher's reign, when we weren't allowed to build any of them. Those were very, very difficult days, and difficult for our people who were looking for housing. I'm glad that that has now changed. We all now support, we all recognise we have to have social housing, we have to get on with it. And we are getting on with it, and I think when you look at the programme that we've got now in Blackpool, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? But it won't be impressive if we don't keep the HRA up, because that's where the money has to come from. So I think in all the circumstances, 5%, it's not okay, because we'd like it to be less, but it's acceptable in terms of all that we're trying to do, all of us, in order to promote social housing. So I hope all members will think about that and vote for it this evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. It was remiss of me to say that this item will be a recorded vote. So, over to you, Mr Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a recorded vote on the motion in the name of Councillor Ivan Taylor. Please could members indicate their answer with either yes, no or abstain. Councillor Baker?
No.
Yeah, we'll take a
break.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, Gary, do we need to call somebody? Debbie is feeling well. I think Gary's took her home now. I'm sure that, you know, we're all thinking of her and what have you. So we'll go again, and we're just going to hand over to Mr Towers and for the recorded vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we'll start the recorded vote again. So it's the recorded vote on the motion in the name of Councillor Ivan Taylor. So please could members indicate their answer with yes, no or abstain. Councillor Baker?
No.
Councillor Brooks?
Yes.
Councillor Badess?
Yes.
Councillor Kane?
No.
Councillor Mrs Maxine Callow? Councillor Campbell?
Yes.
Councillor Clapham? No. Councillor Collett?
Yes.
Councillor Cox?
No.
Councillor Critchley? Yes. Councillor Farrell?
Yes.
Councillor Galley?
No.
Councillor Hobson?
Yes.
Councillor Hugo?
Yes.
Councillor Hunter?
Yes.
Councillor Hutton?
Yes.
Councillor Jackson?
Yes.
Councillor Kirkland? Councillor Matthews?
Yes.
Councillor Bradley Mitchell?
No.
Councillor Martin Mitchell?
Yes.
Councillor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councillor Owen?
Yes.
Councillor Robertson?
No.
Councillor Danny Scott?
Yeah, sorry, no. I'm confused.
We'll take that as a no. Councillor Rick Scott?
No.
Councillor Sloman?
No.
Councillor Smith?
Yes.
Councillor Stansfield?
No.
Councillor Taylor?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
No.
Councillor Lynn Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Wilshaw?
No.
Councillor Wright?
Yes.
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Okay, so that motion was carried.
We need to read out.
Oh, sorry. Presuming that, I do apologise. Carry on. I mean, I'm just getting carried away with myself. Oh, no.
Madam Mayor, members have voted as follows: 21 for the motion, 14 against.
Okay, so I repeat, that motion was carried. Thank you very much, members. Okay, so we move on to item 4, General Fund, Revenue Budget, Council Tax and Dedicated Schools Grant 23-24. I think you'll have all seen the order of proceedings, and as is convention and accordance with procedural standing orders, the leader's budget speech and the leader of the principal opposition and the reply by the second opposition group are not time limited, so they have as long as they need to do their speeches, and then members' questions will rely back to the normal time limit. So over to you. Motion in the name of Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I will move to the Council to agree the proposed recommendations 2.1 to 2.13 as outlined in Agenda Item 4, including the Police and Crime Commissioner and Lancashire Combined Fire Authority precepts, which were agreed on the 15th of February and 20th of February respectively and notified to members yesterday. Madam Mayor, I intend to cover a lot of ground in my speech to Council this evening and make no apology for this. These are extraordinary times for the nation and for Blackpool. I want to begin by making some comment on the national backdrop to this year's budget. I will then turn to set out the main features of the proposed revenue budget for the year ahead. Following this, I will spend some time highlighting notable successes over the last year. I will then dedicate the final section of my speech to our plans for the future of the Council and our town, things that our budget decisions enable us to do. So to begin with, the national backdrop to our decisions this evening. This national situation is without precedent and directly impacts on our council, our town, our people and, of course, our ability to set a legal balanced budget. The impacts of over 12 years of Tory cuts are now obvious to all. Our public services are on their knees. Up and down the country, our hospitals cannot cope. People struggle to get doctor's appointment, never mind a dentist. And morale within the workforces of all the services upon which we all depend so much are at their lowest ebb. We have a national government mired in continual scandal, incapable of providing the essential leadership and hope we all need. As I've remarked in previous speeches, local government has been at the forefront of the Conservative assault on our public services, and the situation is getting even worse. Despite repeated promises, national government has failed to reform the financing of local government so that it can deliver basic public services. Funding for both adult and children's social care is in a state of continual crisis. Numerous local authorities have now effectively gone bankrupt, and I fear more will follow this year, as predicted by commentators across the political spectrum. The Tory project to shatter local government and wider public services has been worsened by the dire mismanagement of our economy. Catastrophic budgets and reckless experiments have added huge cost to borrowing and worsened inflation, making the task of balancing the books even harder. This is no way to lead a country and no way to give people hope for the future. It is clear that this government is out of answers and quickly running out of time. It is against this horrendous national backdrop that we in Blackpool have to find a way to set a legal balanced budget for the council for the year ahead. And that is exactly what this Labour Council has done. I would like to thank all the officers, members and partners who have helped us navigate this extraordinarily difficult task. So the proposed budget for 23-24. As I've already referenced, we have been faced with the consequences of a government failing to address a problem that is obvious to all of us, that local government funding is in dire need of reform, and that council tax is a regressive, unfair system now proven to favour wealthier councils, individuals and areas. On top of the unfairness of council tax, there are so many examples of senseless inequality in the current system of funding. One example, the nonsense of so-called new homes bonus, a system that rewards local authorities that happen to have lots of land for housing that developers want to make big profits from. How can it be right that Blackpool will receive a new homes bonus allocation of just £22,000 this coming year, while neighbouring authorities in Fylde and Wyre will receive £516,000 and £980,000 respectively? What exactly is the reward for? How does this correspond to demand for public services, and which areas are really in need of this additional investment? There are numerous further examples of the madness of the current financing system. The truth is that it is broken. The government has promised again and again reform and to fix it. We are still waiting for the fair funding review, yet again delayed. It wouldn't be so bad if the current system, no matter how chaotic, funded us properly for the services we need to deliver. Between 2011-12 and 2023-24, a cumulative annual budget gap stands at £218 million. What this means is that over the last 12 years, a staggering £1.6 billion has been removed from the council and our town's economy. It's worth pausing on this figure for a moment, £1.6 billion. That's £1,600 million of money for services for our residents and businesses taken away, and that is unforgivable. The government likes to claim that they are putting resources into local areas through devolution. The opposite is the truth. Never before in the history of this country has so much been taken away by national government from local people and their public services. The budget process has been particularly challenging this year, due in part to the lateness of the provisional local government financial settlement received just a week before Christmas. Once again, it is a one-year settlement rather than a multi-year settlement, which simply doesn't support effective financial planning. At one point, I feared that we were looking at a budget gap of between 35 million and 40 million for the coming year, a truly frightening figure after years of austerity. Thankfully, there has been a recognition that in a post-COVID world, there are enormous financial pressures in the social care sector that must be supported through additional funding, albeit through the deferral of social care reforms by 2 years, one-off grants, ring-fence funding, reallocation of existing funding, and the assumption that local authorities will implement council tax increases. As a result, that gap has been reduced to 23.4 million, still an alarming figure, but a more manageable one. As last year, we will continue to work with our NHS partners at the Integrated Care Board to bridge the remaining adult services gap of 1.6 million, via the pooled Better Care Fund budget, an example of our partnership working. I know the financial pressure that everyone out there is under, and the last thing I or any of this council wanted to do is to add to that pain. I wish we did not have to increase council tax by the maximum allowable figure of 5%. However, we have no other option if we are to avoid slashing essential services for the most vulnerable even further, excuse me, and avoid another swathe of compulsory redundancies in public services that are already under enormous pressure. We already know that at least 75% of other English local authorities intend to apply the maximum allowable council tax increase to include scores of Conservative local authorities. And the government has assumed we will apply this increase in all their calculations and their boasts about increase to what they call our core spending power. The reality is that we are forced down this path. Like so many other councils, it is to my regret that we've also made our first plunge into using our reserves to balance the books for next year. We've done so for 3 reasons. Firstly, reserves and balances are at a favourable level due to the good decisions we have made over the last 12 years. Secondly, our Director of Resources believes that the financial outlook for Blackpool Council post-23-24 is not as bad as recent years. Further social care funding is being promised, and the Council's own investments in its leisure assets, its wider portfolio and its wholly owned companies are forecast to make positive contributions. We also hope that inflation and interest rates have now peaked. The third reason for our use of reserves is that the Department for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities is actively encouraging councils to apply reserves where affordable to address the immediate inflationary pressures such as wage uplifts and increased energy and utility prices. In Blackpool's case, these pressures amount to 9.9 million next year alone. The government should be funding us for these new pressures, not encouraging us to cover them via reserves that can only be spent once. The use of reserves is very bad accountancy practice, but all the local government sector is now being told to do this by government. This is how bad things have got in terms of the financing of essential public services. Despite the financial pressures we face each year, our officers work tirelessly on the public's behalf. This year we've seen improved collection rates of council tax and business rates, which are imperative if the council is to afford to maintain essential services. And the year-on-year fall in the number of claimants on the council tax reduction scheme by 1,600 is a strong indicator that Blackpool's overall job market and economy are improving on the back of the extensive programme of economic regeneration we are developing across the town. Our budget decisions play a key part in enabling us to deliver for Blackpool, and it is to our achievements and plans for the future that I now turn. And I want to tell all members this, that despite the appalling national position, this Labour Council continues to lead and deliver for Blackpool and is determined to give our residents and businesses hope for a better future. We have made huge strides in the last year in realising our vision for regenerating Blackpool. Against fierce competition, this Labour Council has won almost 100 million of additional funding from government to deliver our plans for our future. Fantastic projects like Blackpool Central and Multiversity will now become a reality. These investments are crucial to delivering a better future for our residents, especially our young people. No other council has achieved this level of funding success, and every one of these successes has been led by this council, although I'm well aware there's a queue of individuals who'd like everyone to believe that they were somehow responsible. These funding successes sit alongside the likes of our £40 million deal as hallmarks of how Labour is leading for Blackpool. So it might be asked, how is this Labour Council convincing a Tory government to put its faith in our vision for Blackpool? The answer is simple. We know what Blackpool needs, we have the right plans and vision, and we have been willing to work with government to make it happen, even though they are the architects of austerity. I am prepared to work with government because they are prepared to back our plans and vision for Blackpool. Not their plans, our plans. And I refuse to let political interest get in the way of what we are striving to achieve. We will do what is necessary to achieve both the physical and social regeneration of this town. I said this time last year that if the government was truly serious about delivering a levelling up agenda, it should look no further than Blackpool, and I am delighted that just for once they have listened. We won our status as one of 3 national levelling up pilots in spring last year. Our collaborative approach has rightly earned us respect at Westminster, where ministers and senior civil servants have seen at first hand what a place can deliver when it is given the appropriate backing and financial support. Furthermore, they have been absolutely convinced that our plans are the right ones for Blackpool. The Secretary of State even said this himself, sitting opposite me in my office. And as leader, I'm clear that I will work with government and ministers if they are prepared to back our plans and vision. As part of our Levelling Up pilot, I have now met with the Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Michael Gove, on successive occasions. On a recent visit in November, the Secretary of State described us to the media as a credible and capable local authority. Most importantly, the shared belief in what we are doing has won us game-changing levels of funding with the prospects of more to come. What it means is that we can now add Blackpool Central, a civil service hub, and a multiversity to the list of transformational projects that are helping to create a new Blackpool. These are projects that will deliver jobs, skills and prospects on a grand scale, in particular for our young people who are at the heart of my ambition for a better Blackpool. Add to that the list of regeneration schemes already underway, including the tramway extension, major improvements to the Hounds Hill Shopping Centre, including the securing of a new anchor tenant department store and IMAX, the restoration of historic assets such as the Winter Gardens and the Tower, new social housing, 4-star hotels and investment in iconic tourism assets like the Illuminations. Interestingly, so many of these projects have repeatedly been dismissed on the opposition benches as vanity schemes, pipe dreams that would never happen. All I would say is take a look outside, see the cranes, the diggers, the construction works that are turning our aspirations into reality. And we are delivering all this in close partnership with the private sector and other key anchor institutions like the government, organisations such as Merlin, our football club, Nical, Blackpool and the Fylde College, and so many others are convinced that our plans and partner approach are the right ones for Blackpool. We are delivering in spite of Tory cuts that have taken hundreds of millions of pounds out of council coffers over the past decade or so, and despite the fallout of what was the worst public health crisis in living memory. We are delivering the stable, focused leadership that this town needs. Myself and the executive, together with all the Labour group, work together with one common purpose to deliver our vision for Blackpool, the opposite of the chaos and acrimony that characterise the benches opposite. The Tories nationally are a shambles and have now proven themselves to be no better locally. We are delivering despite the endless rounds of bidding for pots of money from central government. In this madness, deserving local authorities are pitted against each other, wasting huge amounts of time and resource with the rules often changing after the event. This bidding culture prevents local councils being able to plan for the long term, and it needs to change. Local government should be funded to invest properly in their areas over the long term, building the confidence of the private sector and others to commit and invest for the long term too. As commentators from across the political spectrum have made clear, including Conservative Metro mayors, the short-term bidding culture will fail to deliver levelling up. I acknowledge that through our own hard work and skill, we've done quite well in recent rounds of these bidding wars. Of course, we want to go for all the resource we can for our town. But the notion that Blackpool is getting more money than ever from government is just nonsense. As I've already explained, the compound effect of the cuts since 2011 have taken 1.6 billion away from Blackpool. But if we just take capital funding, even with our recent successes, we have got less between 2011-12 and 23-24 than we got in the 13 years before this under New Labour from 98-99 and to 2010-11. I'll happily share the detail of this with anyone who would care to be enlightened and know more. So, back to now. The journey that we've been on over the last decade has laid the foundations on which we can build. We've achieved so much, but I know that there is still so much still to do. So let me talk in a little bit more detail about what our story so far means to the people we represent and what this year's budget will help us to continue to deliver. There are 5 key areas that I will cover in the final part of the speech. Creating good jobs for Blackpool residents, investing in our young people and supporting our economy, electrifying our visitor economy to cement our place as the UK's favourite family resort, better neighbourhoods, homes and green spaces, investing in our infrastructure and all our futures. I am determined that we will do everything we can to create good jobs for Blackpool residents. With Labour leading for Blackpool, we have already created 3,000 jobs through our enterprise zone and many regeneration schemes, created opportunities for hundreds of local young apprentices, supported 200 new businesses to come to Blackpool, helped 1,000 people into work who had been long-term unemployed, continued to invest in the groundbreaking Project Search initiative, which has now supported over 100 young people with a learning disability into work, signed up to the real living wage, including within our own council companies, improving pay for 1,000 of the lowest paid workers. Moving forward, Labour will bring over 3,000 new office workers and jobs into the heart of the town centre in our 100 million civil service hub. deliver thousands more jobs at our enterprise zone, bringing higher paid advanced manufacturing and digital jobs to Blackpool, create a third of 1,000 new jobs in the town centre by delivering exciting projects such as Blackpool Central, launch a new Blackpool Workers' Charter, improving the working conditions in partnership with local employers, open a new Anchor department store at Hounds Hill along with an IMAX cinema to boost the retail and evening economy, launch a modernised Abingdon Street Market as a specialist food and drink hotspot. Secondly, investing in young people in our community, an area that very close to my heart. For our young people in our community, Labour has invested in our children's services, consistently improving outcomes for our young people. These achievements were recently recognised by Ofsted, where I quote, "Strong, capable and determined leadership has overseen improvements across children's social care. Protected services for our residents in the face of Tory cuts with investments in libraries, parks and leisure centres. Protected our most vulnerable, including introducing the real living wage for social care providers. Total spend on care for our voluntary adults, vulnerable adults, has gone up by 10 million per annum since 2019. Secured 5 million of funding for a health inequalities research project, the only authority in the North West to do so. This will help us transform our services and systems to work better for our local communities. Work closely with our charitable partners to support our community. Groundwork, Blackpool Football Club Community Trust, the Boathouse, Boys and Girls Club, the Magic Club, the Blackpool Food Partnership, the NSPCC and Better Start and the Salvation Army have all worked closely with us to support those in need, as well as creating fantastic new community spaces such as at the Grange. Help 500 young people through the platform, our new youth employment hub, which will celebrate its first birthday next month. Moving forward, we will do more for our young people and community. We will bring the benefits of further and higher education closer to Blackpool residents by delivering a new multiversity in the town centre in partnership with Blackpool and Fylde College, bringing 3,700 students into the town centre, creating a vibrant mix and raising aspirations. Provide comprehensive new youth services that will help our young people get off to a brighter start. Establish children and adults community hubs across the town to support all our residents to live well, stay healthy and succeed. Continue to develop our groundbreaking Health and Social Care Academy, addressing the workforce crisis in the sector and providing opportunities for our community. Deliver 6 million of further investment into High Furlong Special School. Continue to invest in our children's services improvement journey, including new investments into special educational needs and disability service, and delivery of 1 million to our priority education investment area, focusing on literacy and numeracy over the next 2 years. We will lead innovation in health and social care through our local place-based partnership. As part of this, we are determined to put a laser-like focus on the determinants of ill health, securing more focus on prevention and key areas such as the first 1,000 days of life. We will trial NHS health checks delivery across our vaccination clinic locations, making them accessible to those who are unable to attend at the GP practice. We will build on the learning from the pioneering project ADDA and Changing Futures, and further invest to transform drug and alcohol treatment services in Blackpool to better support those facing multiple disadvantages. We will continue to do everything possible to create a zero-tolerance attitude in Blackpool towards the abuse of women and girls. We will work with women, the police, health, with business and our fantastic community groups to create not just safe spaces, but a safe Blackpool, intolerant of abuse and safe for all our communities and people. And we will do all of this with and not to our communities. I'm determined that we build on the start we have now made in so many areas and continue to co-produce our plans for the future with all of our residents. The third area I'd like to highlight is our plans to continue to electrify our visitor economy. We've already invested 100 million in the Blackpool Tower and Winter Gardens after years of neglect, protecting our heritage and adding a fantastic new 30 million conference centre. Fought for and won 40 million of funding to relocate the courts building to help facilitate the Blackpool Central leisure project on the Golden Mile. Led the way in helping our tourism and hospitality industry to emerge from the pandemic by investing more than 1 million by extending the illumination season through to the end of the year and dramatically improving our festive offer with the launch of Christmas by the Sea. A TripAdvisor survey in November 22 said that Blackpool ranked third behind only London and Edinburgh as a planned destination for a Christmas visit. We bucked the post-pandemic trend by growing our visitor numbers to almost 19 million across the UK. Visitor destinations have struggled to recover. Yet the investment we have made in attractions and events like the air show and World Fireworks have seen numbers outperform 2019. And just this week, Blackpool was voted UK's #1 affordable staycation destination for the year ahead in a national poll. Secured millions of pounds of Town Deal and Arts Council funding for the illuminations and the Lightpool Festival. We want to build upon these successes for our visitor economy and go much further. Moving forward, we will fully deliver £300 million worth of new investment into Blackpool Central, the biggest investment in Blackpool in generations, creating 1,000 new jobs for local people and bringing hundreds of thousands more visitors. Support the creation of more next-generation hotels to complement our ever-improving leisure and business tourism offer. Open Showtown, Blackpool's first ever museum that rightly celebrates our rich history of popular entertainment. Invest millions more in our world-famous illuminations to ensure their appeal is as enduring as it has been for more than a century. Establish a new minimum standard for visitor accommodation. On the fourth area of focus is better neighbourhoods, homes and green spaces. Labour has already invested over £5 million in our parks and open spaces, including Stanley Park, Martin Mere and our community parks. Something for everyone, high ropes or weather pitches, children's play areas and cafes. We have created 1,000 new quality affordable homes for local people. The cost of living crisis isn't new for many of our residents, and that is why we have invested around £100 million in affordable new properties. A further 2,000 existing properties have seen substantial improvements. We've secured the funding to deliver a nationally supported housing pilot. Poor quality housing is a scourge on Blackpool, and in particular in the private rented sector. That is why we have become a supported housing pilot area and enforced against over 400 poor quality properties. We've invested £20 million in affordable warmth schemes to provide 500 homes with support with insulation and heating. Investment in fantastic new facilities for the town at Common Edge Community Sports Village on our enterprise zone. And moving forward in this area, we will deliver a further fantastic new sports village at Bloomfield Road, bringing community pitches into the heart of Revo. Continue to invest in Stanley Park, voted England's favourite park for the third time and now a designated national treasure, with new tennis courts, a new athletics track and improvement work on the much-loved lake, and also all our community parks across the town, which are so important to our communities. We will work with Homes England to secure £200 million of new investment to transform the inner areas of Blackpool, build a further 500 new council and affordable homes, start delivery of the neighbourhood master plans for Claremont, Revo and Waterloo, support another 1,000 properties with insulation and efficient heating, and protect the rights of tenants by piloting new national measures that would create a decent home standard for the private rented sector and crack down on bad landlords. Last and certainly not least, we will continue to make key investments in our town's infrastructure and all of our futures. With Labour, we have already invested over £1 billion in our town since 2010 in projects such as the tramway and remodel sea defences. Developed Blackpool's first climate change action plan in partnership with community and business and won national recognition of our progress towards net zero. Invested in our public transport. Most areas have seen public transport destroyed during the last years of Conservative rule. We have invested on our wholly owned transport company, a new tramway, new buses, new services, and still kept the historic tram assets running. We expanded our world-famous seafront tramway, connecting up with the national rail system, which will deliver 1 million more passenger journeys. Developed a business case to revitalise the South Fylde rail line. Fiercely protected Blackpool's bus routes, providing one of the most comprehensive public transport systems in any town in England, and taken action to keep fares affordable. Rolled out a new electric bus fleet to bring a pleasant environment inside and out. And we intend to go further. Moving forward, we will capitalise on the transatlantic data cable loop that has landed in Blackpool, creating sustainable data centres and bringing digital business and local jobs to our airport enterprise zone. Invest further in the infrastructure of our airport, ensuring it has a key role to play in Blackpool's economic growth. Build on the key investments we have made in our roads and highways, such as the recent work to secure the future of Eden Way for the next generation. Labour will also ensure Blackpool is prepared to face and tackle the biggest challenge of our time, climate change. We will deliver on Blackpool's ambitious award-winning climate change action plan, bringing new green jobs and protection for our coast. We will develop our electric vehicle charging infrastructure for residents, visitors and our new electric bus fleet. We will deliver a 61 million sea defence scheme between Little Bisping and Bisping Tram Stop and Cocker Square. We will deliver a 56 million beach nourishment scheme in partnership with the Environment Agency, which will help to ensure our sea defences remain effective. And we will take advantage of Blackpool's best natural resource, our wonderful sunshine, with a plan to cover the council's assets with solar panels, saving money and helping our planet. Madam Mayor, that was quite a list of achievements and ambitions for our future. Good jobs for residents, investing in our young people and our community, electrifying our visitor economy, better neighbourhoods, homes, green spaces, and investing in our infrastructure and our future. This is Labour leading for Blackpool. To summarise, this council knows what the town needs and we are making it happen, and we've seen this year that even this Tory government thinks we've got all the right ideas. I urge the government to address the crisis of funding of local public services and do what it has promised to reform the financing of local government and place it on a sustainable footing. As the Local Government Association stated, only with adequate long-term resources, certainty and freedoms can councils deliver world-class local services for our communities, tackle the climate emergency and level up. This budget, like ones before, has involved making very difficult decisions. We will continue to ensure the financial viability of the council, and we will continue to make the right decisions for our town's future. I'm incredibly proud of the record of this Labour Council. We are delivering the investment and hope that our residents and businesses need. It is Labour that has and will continue to lead for Blackpool, calm, focus and effective leadership that our town needs. I commend this budget to the Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Taylor, are you seconding?
Happy to second the motion, Madam Mayor, and reserve the right to speak if necessary.
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Clapham, right of reply?
You'll be pleased to know this is a lot shorter than the last speech, and not with the detail either. It was a very good speech, by the way. I would just like to say that the annual budget is a crucial piece of work which guides Blackpool's finances for the next 12 months and beyond. There are no surprises in the recommendations, which include the council tax rise of 4.99%, the government's maximum. The budget has expensive statutory elements such as adult services and children's services, and very expensive commitments in communication and regeneration. Blackpool is very successful in making bids to bring government support to projects, which has just been mentioned, so we agree on that. There can be seen in the results in new hotels, conference centre and other new builds around the town. The latest being the future redevelopment of the bus depot at Rigby Road and the electrification of the buses. These are future but ready to go. The development of the multi-versity and office accommodation, which I was told was for 1,500 civil servants, is in the early stages. I am told that the civil service actually needs offices for 3,000 employees, so that ties up with the leader of the council. And that Whitehills is a place of preference with its easier access to the motorway and car parking spaces. It is a risk to have town centre developments which only depend on the transport hub and restricted parking. The museum housed in a privately owned hotel at a rental of £250,000 per annum is unique and has inherent risks. I remember the Sandcastle built with European and government grants, creating losses for years until the capital was repaid. I'm quite sure Ivan remembers that. Every time the budget came up, the sandcastle was nothing but woe. But, and that really is a fear of bringing in new buildings, big loans, and so on. It's easy to build buildings, but to actually occupy them and make them run as a successful business is really the trick that we need to follow. The rebranded Sandcastle Waterworld is an outstanding success, even paying a dividend to the council, a wholly owned company that we can be proud of. But again, the capital was paid off. One area of risk could be the money loaned out through the Business Loan Fund. Of the 200 million available, 105 million has been drawn down. If any of the loans fail, it could be a financial blow to the borough. The Chief Financial Officer or Director of Finances reassures me that those loans are safe. I hope he is perfectly correct in that assumption. The local government finance settlement awarded a core spending of 178 million, which was 10.97% above last year's figure, which was 160.4 million. This generous settlement from the government has allowed a further sum of 5.5 million to be placed with children's services and also the same sum with adult services. This is very welcome. Ward budgets have been reduced by £500 per councillor, which reduces funds available for community groups. Our group did not vote for the allowance rise for councillors. We voted against it twice. The Labour group voted it through, and again, it's a shame when you hear about all the pressures that are placed on our economy. The Leader of the Council has spoken about them at length to do with rising costs of materials, energy, employment and so on, that the Council as a whole, as one, could have foregone this 4.4% rise. We think that the public will remember just one or two things. They will remember the council tax rising. It will remember the rising of the rents and of fees and charges. They will never remember or even look at the details that have been outlined by the Leader of the Council. They look at what arrives on their doorstep and what's it going to cost them, and are the services going to be maintained at the level that they expect. After those few warnings that are in my speech, it does leave me to thank Steve Thompson and Mark Golden for their presentation to our group. It was excellent, very detailed, very long, and obviously a 12-month project to put together. I would also like to thank all the officers who contribute to the setting of our council budget, and I hope it is successful, because that success is good for the town. And whatever colour we are, that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Can I invite Councillor Mitchell from the second opposition group to reply?
Thank you very much, accustomed as I am. I would also like to thank Steve Thompson and all his staff actually for all the work they do all year, because of course it is a year-long process. I think it's important to remember the budget is about political leadership, or lack of it.
myself and the leader and several members on that side attended an event before Christmas, very, very excellent event. It's called Enough is Enough. Everybody there absolutely agreed. We've had 12 years of fierce Conservative cutbacks. This is time to stand up and do something about it. And absolutely no dissent. And I think it's reasonable to say that saying enough is only good if you put it into practice. We've had 12 years of passing on Tory cuts with a minimum of protest. Numerous government ministers have come to Blackpool in recent years and been showing around council companies and public buildings. Not once has a leader or any of the Labour cabinet done anything to suggest that there wasn't a common approach between the two major parties. On occasions, joint press releases have been put out. Fortunately, we've heard it again tonight, haven't we? Michael Gove apparently thinks that we're creditable, and this is a kind of badge of honour, it's something to boast about. Well, not for me, it's not. And Lead also said the Tory government think we've got the right ideas. Is that nice? Yeah. Something to be happy about? I don't think so. Let's look at the detail of the budget. At a time when the town is rammed with people seeking accommodation and the Homelessness Prevention Service is in a state of siege, the council plans to decrease spending by over 20% in this area. And the forecast is for spending on adult services to fall by 6%. Absolutely amazing. It's not exactly in keeping with enough is enough. Well, let's look at the children's services budget, which unfortunately has been overspent for 10 years. The present year is expected to overspend by £6 million. We're budgeting to spend less next year. What's that all about? It's all about, not about reality, not about fighting back. And with respect to everybody involved, it's difficult to vote for a budget if one has no confidence it's going to be kept to. And all this is in the context of the council having nearly £50 million in reserves. Every year the council tax goes up by a maximum, this time by 5%. And there's always some implication that things might be different next year. And we asked to vote for this budget on this basis. Promise of jam tomorrow for council and the jam today. I say no, enough really is enough.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, do I have any further speakers? Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, thank you for your speech, Councillor Williams, and I just to reiterate what my fellow councillors have said regarding Steve Thompson and all the team and all the hard work that's been put in. And it is great to see in your hometown all the new buildings going up and stuff that's been in the pipeline for some time, and it's great walking about streets like Edward Street and seeing new shop fronts, etc., etc. This is not a form of criticism. We've been a realist. I think I asked you a question a couple of council meetings ago, Councillor Williams, and it was about the ownership and the looking after of public assets, which is all our assets. Now, the response I got from you, well, that's all right, third party's looking after that, but we should be the ones looking at the third party to see if they're doing the right work behind the scenes, because we've been in that business in a previous life. I know if it's left too long without checks, stuff can just go to rack and ruin, and you end up at the end of the period with a pile of stuff that isn't working. So that was it. It was just a point of making out that we need proper supervision of the people that are taking on the contracts, maybe on behalf of the civil service or whatever. So they'll be doing it on behalf of the civil service, but at the end of the day, it's a public asset, and we need to be aware that that is being looked after properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Any further speakers? Councillor Hobson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to quickly sort of nip in on Councillor Mitchell's point about the children's services budget. Yeah, we are looking to reduce spend and make some savings in some certain ways. That is because our children's numbers over the last few years are at an historic low and are continuing to drop. We are also far less reliant on agency staff as our workforce is stabilised. We've got the culture sorted in that department now, and that's where the savings are come on. But great question, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, no further questions. Okay, Leader, right to reply.
Thank you. Councillor Clapham, I think the risks that you were I mean, obviously the business loans, they're all secured. Careful consideration is planned looking at loan to value, and any interest rates reflect that upon that risk, but they're all secured. But I understand the point that you make and the importance of it. In relation to adult social care and children's social care, Councillor Hobson has commented upon our budget for children's social care for next year, but in terms of the money, the additional sums from government, yes, of course we welcome that, but it doesn't reflect the year-on-year previous underspends that or over, excess demand that we have had to deal with, and that consistently mount up. And obviously, this isn't just a Blackpool problem; this is a national, which is commented upon across all political spectrums. I'm not going to labour the point. We've been there and done that. It isn't a pay increase. It's less than half the rate of inflation in relation to the increases of allowances. Sorry, Councillor Mitchell. What it's about responsible financial management and governance, and ensuring that we are improving on all services. Councillor Scott, I think we can we should be able to rely on the civil service really to ensure if they're going to go bust, really, God help us all. Yeah. So, but I take the point. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Williams.
Okay. Madam Mayor, it's recorded votes on the motion in the name of Councillor Lynn Williams. Please could members indicate their answer with either yes, no or abstain. Councillor Baker?
No.
Councillor Brooks? Yes. Councillor Bades?
Yes.
Councillor Kane?
No.
Councillor Mrs Maxine Callow? Councillor Campbell?
Yes.
Councillor Clapham?
No.
Councillor Collett?
Yes.
Councillor Critchley? Councillor Farrell?
Yes.
Councillor Galley?
No.
Councillor Hobson?
Yes.
Councillor Hugo?
Yes.
Councillor Hunter?
Yes.
Councillor Hutton?
Yes.
Councillor Jackson?
Yes.
Councillor Kirkland?
Yes.
Councillor Matthews?
Yes.
Councillor Bradley Mitchell?
No.
Councillor Martin Mitchell?
No.
Councillor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councillor Owen?
Yes.
Councillor Robertson?
No.
Councillor Danny Scott?
No.
Councillor Rick Scott?
No.
Councillor Sloman?
No.
Councillor Smith?
Yes.
Councillor Stansfield?
No.
Councillor Taylor?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh? Councillor Lynn Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Wilshaw?
No.
Councillor Wright?
Yes.
Madam Mayor.
Yes. Okay, thank you, members.
Madam Mayor, members have voted as follows: 20 for the motion, 14 against.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the motion in the name of Councillor Williams was carried. Thank you. So if we move on to item 4, General Fund Revenue Budget. Oh no, we've had that. Move on, sorry. Okay, item 5, apologies. Treasury Management Strategy, and I think that's in the name of Councillor Williams.
Yes, happy to move the recommendations at Agenda 5, Treasury Management Strategy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Taylor, thank you. Do you have any speakers on this item? Okay. Okay, so if we'd like to vote on this item, those in favour? Okay, those against? Any abstentions? That was carried. Yeah, so that motion was carried. Thank you. Item 6, Capital Strategy 23-24, and I believe it's Councillor Williams again.
Yes, Madam Mayor, to the recommendations of the Executive from its meeting on the 6th of February on the capital strategy for 23-24 to 25-26 and its complementary document, the Property Investment Strategy for 23-24. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Any speakers? Any speakers? Okay. Right to reply, Councillor Williams. Nothing to reply? No. Okay. You're not replying? Okay. Okay, so those in favour of the motion? Okay, those against? Any abstentions? Okay, carried. Okay, so that motion was carried. Thank you, members. Item 7, Capital Programme. Councillor Williams.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. To consider recommendation of the Executive at its meeting on the 6th of February, the Capital Programme 23-24 to 25-26. Happy to move.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seconder.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Okay, do I have any speakers? Okay. Right of reply? No. No reply to reply. No, nothing to reply to. Okay, so Council to vote on this. All those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? Okay, once again, thank you. That motion was carried. So, item 8, the local plan. I do believe Councillor Williams to
Thank you.
again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the local plan to consider the recommendations of the Executive from its meeting. So it's a Blackpool Local Plan Part 2, Site Allocations, Development Management Policies. Obviously, we deferred it on the last occasion. I understand that meeting took place and have answered questions and gained a better understanding of that rather large document. Happy to move. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Seconder. There was a register and it was noted. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Any councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Clapham.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the officers who presented the virtual overview of this plan, Part 2. Helen, Jane and Nick particularly. The plan is clear, it's precise, it's supported by the inspector, it's been back to the public, everything is as it should have been. I thank the Leader of the Council for giving us the opportunity of actually having some professionals go through it. A big, complicated project, it certainly was. And we fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Any further speakers? Okay, right to reply. Do you want to reply? That's okay. Okay, so if we can go to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? No abstentions. Okay, full house. Thank you, members. That was unanimous. Okay, item 9, pay policy statement. Councillor Williams.
Yes, to the recommendation of the Chief Officer's Employment Committee from the meeting on the 6th of February 2023 to approve the proposed pay policy statement which incorporates annual gender pay gap data. To move pay policy statement 23-24.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Anybody, councillors wishing to speak? Oh, Councillor Farrell, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is 53 years now since the Equal Pay Act 1970, and as we approach celebrations for International Women's Day, it is timely to review our record in equal pay. The report shows a current mean gender pay gap of 1.15% and a median gender pay gap of minus 2.04%. This means the Council is in a very strong position in regards to its gender pay gap. Sadly, the gender pay gap is still a major issue in many UK organisations. Among all employees, the gender pay gap nationally was still 15.1% in 2021. We believe our long-term approach to a range of issues have helped us achieve this, including a family-friendly, supportive HR culture, strong commitment to diversity and inclusion, investment in leadership learning, and objective-led job evaluation and equal opportunity based on recruitment practices. However, we are not complacent and we will continue to undertake the above initiatives that have contributed to these fabulous results. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Farrell. Any further speakers? Councillor Clapham, sorry.
As a member of the committee that actually went through this, the gender pay gap in Blackpool is almost zero. We are a fantastic example in terms of employment and the balance of salaries between male and female. You're quite right mentioning other parts of the country, but we are a shining light, and it's an excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further speakers? Okay, so if we go to the vote, all those in favour? Any against? Okay, no abstentions. Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you very much, members. That motion was carried. Okay, so that concludes the business of the evening. Just before we go, this is the last council meeting before we adjourn, but before we go into election period. I'm extremely proud and privileged to have chaired this council meeting. A shortfall of saying a pleasure, but thank you very much. So, some of the time. Can I just thank members? Obviously there'll be members that won't be standing again. Can I thank you all for your service? And I wish you well for the future. Thank you very much, members. Thank you.